You're listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast with Joe D and Eric B. Ordinary Joe's podcast.
All right, another episode of the Ordinary Joes. This time, we're going to talk about Disney Plus's, I guess, one of the more popular series on Disney Plus. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian. No, we're not going to talk about Evil Dead Rises.
I was waiting for the music. I thought you had
it.
You looked like you were...
The Mandalorian. That doesn't really work.
Nah.
Sorry, Joe. I was caught off guard there.
You got me spoiled, man. You always got the sound bites ready to go.
Oh, that definitely doesn't work for the Mandalorian right there. Next time. No. Someone asked me today, he's like, hey, man, I just watched Evil Dead Rise. Are you guys going to talk about that? And I'm like, hell no. That's something Joe might have to do solo because there's no way I'm watching that one, man.
I don't know why, man. Evil Dead, that's like a classic. It's one of the...
Yeah, but this is called Evil Dead Rises. It's not just one person. It's not multiple. It's one person. Yeah, no. Sorry, Joe. That's
you want to see Evil Dead ends, right?
Evil Dead's over. If I had a hard time watching The Last of Us, there's no way I'm going to watch Evil Dead Rises, all right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to discuss The Mandalorian. What my thoughts are, well, there's been three seasons already, and 3 seasons of Pedro Pascal might be the last season of Pedro Pascal. We'll see. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about the series, the season, and our thoughts and my thoughts on the Star Wars universe moving forward. So let's go ahead and get this started, man. I am Eric B.
And I'm Joe Buffett. We are
the Ordinary Joes. If I wasn't a Star Wars fan, I'd be thinking like, Joe Buffet? Buffet? What are you? You're a buffet, Joe?
I love your reactions every time I come with something new. It always throws you off.
Joe, because I'm waiting for a new. I know you're going to have a new one. So I'm like, okay, what's it going to be this time? Joe always amazes me with his. He had, what was it? It was Joe Mama was the funniest one.
I actually have to go back. I forgot.
I got to go back. This is only his third one. There's only your third Joe, whatever. But Joe Buffett works. Yeah. I thought you were going to go Joe Jarian. Joe Dinjarian. Binjorian. Joe. Wait, I got one for Joe. Joe.
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah, that's a good one. Not today yet, but a couple of days ago.
It's still early, Joe.
Joe Mama.
I'm going to have to do the Joe Buffett one, though. I like that one. That's going to go right next to
Joe Mama.
All right, man. Had Joe watched it. You guys caught the last podcast we did when we first talked about, I think it was the first episode of The Mandalorian. Yeah. And Joe had to binge watch the whole thing from beginning to end, where my dumb ass was waiting till 12 o'clock Tuesday night, every night, just to watch it, because I didn't want anybody spoiling it for me. And, the power of social media, as soon as you open it, they're like, oh no, Dinjar. And I'm like, fuck, now I got to watch and see what's going on here. So I said, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm waking up at midnight and people at work were seeing me and they're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, just think of me as a zombie today because I'm not doing shit because I stayed up till 1:30 watching freaking Mandalorian.
Yeah. You have to sometimes make those sacrifices, man, because it's like social media can ruin things so easily. Yeah. Like it's happened for a few series that I'm not finished with yet. And I wasn't even looking anywhere near that sort of content. And it was just like, bam.
You're like, Not trying to break the topic or change the topic here. The reason why I didn't watch Shazam, the second one, is because hella people were leaking what was going on in the movie, like before the movie even came out. So I was like, I'm not going to watch this. There's no way. And I ended up watching it last night and I didn't really like it. So thank God I didn't pay for the movies.
Yeah. So sometimes we get lucky.
Yeah. All right, Joe, man, go ahead and get us started. We're talking The Mandalorian, and let's see what Joe's thoughts. We can go all over the place. We don't have to go from episode to episode. Let's just jump at your thoughts and tell me what you think.
Yeah. Right away. I mean, like you said last time, we did episode 1, and wasn't too excited about the rest of the season after that first episode. We waited so long, and then I think it was only like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And so I part of me kind of slacking to finish the season is because I'm like, this is gonna be a tough watch. But I was wrong. I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews. I know some people hate it, some people love it. I've said before, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. So I think I didn't have like high expectations.
Yeah.
But because of that, I wasn't let down. Honestly, I kind of enjoyed it. We're like you said, we're going to bounce around, but we'll just start off with the next episode, episode 2. That's when Mando goes back to what is it? Mandalore. Sorry, I was going to say Mandaloria. Goes back to Mandalore so he can go to the living waters of Mandalore and bathe himself, so he can become part of the Mandalorians again, because he had taken his helmet off and broke the rules, blah blah blah, right?
He's not one.
Yeah. And right away they do the typical Star Wars thing where it's like, okay, we got to go to Mandalore and got to go into the waters and I got to do this. And then you think that's where they're going next, but no, they got to stop somewhere else first.
Yeah.
And he goes and gets an android, and like right away, I'm like, here we go again, bouncing all over the place. I'm confused. But then they get there and they start investigating Mandalore. They go into these caves, these ruins, and they meet with these, I don't know what you want to call them, these like gorilla cave monkey things.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought they were.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, all right, well, you piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, just from there, it kind of goes on with him doing that and then coming back and meeting with Bo-Katan again. And I actually was able to follow this story a little better than I usually do with Star Wars, anything Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I right away kind of got into it. Like, it was not hard for me to binge watch it. It's still, in my opinion, not the greatest, and we'll get into all that. But so far in the beginning, I thought it was pretty good. They somehow found a way to make Grogu cuter. But compared to what we started with episode 1, I was kind of happy with where it was going, and not knowing where it was going, but I was like, okay, you got me interested.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
I'm the opposite of you right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I love what they did with season 1 and 2. Of course, with only 8 episodes, there's only so much they can do. And this is what's killing me about any Disney Plus episode, any Star Wars episode. It's like, give us 10, give us a round number. I mean, like 8 is better than 4, but 10 is better than 8. And
they're short episodes too.
And they're like, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and you got like 15 minutes of credits from beginning to end, right? So like in the beginning and towards the end. So that's what drives me crazy about these episodes. And I think if they gave us 10, because usually like at 4 or 5, I feel like they start rushing everything. Like they're trying to give us so much at one time. And like you said, you were able to like this and to follow it. And a lot of people who watch Star Wars Rebels kind of felt the same way. I'm not you know me, I don't really follow the animation. I am going to sit down and finally watch all the Rebels, because it's going to tie into Ahsoka Tano, the new episode coming out for Disney Plus. And there's a lot of Bo-Katan in Star Wars Rebels. So I'm like, all right, let me get caught up just in case Bo-Katan shows up in Rebels. In case she shows up in Ahsoka. I liked it. I liked where it was going. What kind of killed me was episode 3, The Convert, or is it called The Convert?
Yeah.
Convert. It was 59 minutes long.
Dr. What's his name?
Dr. Pershing. And I was like, all right, cool. we're going to see 59 minutes of The Mandalorian, but you only get 10 minutes total of The Mandalorian. It's like they show the first 5 minutes with Bo-Katan's castle getting blown up, Bo-Katan, doing all this. And then you get them at the end with another 5 minutes because, they supposedly they cleanse themselves and now they're pure Mandalorians again. And between that, you get nothing but a backstory of Dr. Pershing trying to redeem himself and trying to make himself better. So I was like, okay, this better tie in to the storyline. And, spoiler alert if you guys haven't watched it, but it didn't tie in at all.
Yeah.
So that's what when you say like they go different routes, different directions, I get it. I totally understand what you're talking about. This season they had a lot of potential for me, a lot of like, okay, cool, we're going to be able to see this and we're going to finally hear Grogu besides the baby talk. And no, we still got the, I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I wonder how long that's going to last, considering how old was Yoda when he died? Like 800 years old. So
yeah,
like, does it take like 25 years for them to learn how to talk?
Well, he's supposedly 100 years old, right? Or is he still younger than that?
Grogu? Yeah, I actually, I might have missed that, but I would assume because their lifespan is so long, he's probably older than we would assume.
Yeah. Episode 2 kind of, what was cool about it, I don't remember if it was episode 2 or episode 4. I think it was episode 4 when the armorer was sitting there forging a new thing for Grogu. And Grogu has this flashback scene of how he escaped Order 66. And they show the Jedi, who's played by Ahmad Best, who everybody knows famous for as Jar Jar Binks. So when they brought him back to be a Jedi, that was kind of like redeeming himself because, everybody in the whole world did not like Jar Jar. They were asking for Jar Jar's head.
Yeah, poor guy. Like I remember that it's like wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
He's like did the best he can.
Be so hungry. There's this video, there's this video on him where he actually went through depression because of that character. And then you being from New York, he said he walked across the Brooklyn Bridge just to try to like calm his mind. But there's a spot on the bridge. I don't know what spot that is, but he contemplated on jumping off that spot and committing suicide just because people hated that character. I mean, it's like me trying to get into Hollywood. I'm afraid one day I'm gonna get a character where I'm gonna be like him and be like,
yeah. It's, I don't know, maybe it's just Star Wars fans, man. Like they are die hard. They did the same thing to Anakin. I forget the guy's name. He went through a depression. Recently has kind of come back and into the fanfare, and they've accepted him again. And yeah, man, fans can be brutal. And it's like it's messed up, man. These guys are just doing their job, and they're doing the best they can, but it's curious to me, like when we were just talking before we got on air, how you said you watched it week by week, so you wouldn't get any spoiler alerts, and I binge watched it, and I wonder if me binge watching it helped for me to get the flow of the show more. You know what I mean? Because you're right, episode 2 was that with the doc, it goes completely off into another story, and you're just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And like you said, it was a long episode. It was a good episode. But you almost like forget that you're watching The Mandalorian. Because it's just about these two characters, and then you're expecting the immediate tie-in, or at least somewhat of a tie-in at the end of the episode, even if they're going to go back later in the series. And like you said, we really don't get that, and that's again part of the issue I have with any kind of Star Wars movie or show, is that they're always all over the place with the storyline. And so I'm just curious if maybe, watching it all in one big shot, which you can do with this. I mean, like we said, they're short episodes. I watched the whole series in probably like 2 to 3 days, at least half of it.
Yeah, that's something I might try. I mean, I might go back. I mean, we don't get nothing till August with the Ahsoka Tano show. So I might actually go back and sit here and binge watch everything all over again. Maybe, I mean, again, don't get me wrong. It was cool. It was The Mandalorian, but if you're gonna call something The Mandalorian, I want to see the Mandalorians in it. Episode 3, like I said, 10 minutes. That's all they had. It was a 59-minute episode, and we only got to see 10 minutes of the Mandalorian. It was it was probably for me the best Mandalorian scene of all, because going back to what you said, episode 2 ends with Din Djarin getting caught by that whatever weird creature inside Mandalore. And then episode 3 starts with Grogu flying back to Bo-Katan's place and saving Din Djarin in there. And it's funny, a lot of people don't talk about this. Din Djarin getting captured by that creature saved Bo-Katan's life, because you saw what they did to Bo-Katan's castle. They bombed it. They I don't want to use the phrase that I'm thinking about, but they bombed it. They sucker punched her, surprised, the poor droid that was there ended up dying. But so that really saved Bo-Katan's life. And that made Bo-Katan realize, like, man, I don't have anybody anymore. So she decides, hell, you know what? Let me go ahead and jump in this water also and save do what I can. And there she sees the mythical beast. I forget the mythosaur. Yeah. So she's starting to be like, wait a minute. I guess this is real and this is true. And that's what brings us to episode 4, where she has to kind of like redeem herself and show herself as, I'm a true leader. So it was cool. It was a cool first couple episodes, but I wish there was more than 8, give us 10 at least.
Yeah. I did enjoy that part of the story where, she was kind of in a place where, she didn't necessarily believe in the Mandalorian ideals anymore. She didn't have the helmet on, kind of like someone who loses their religion, right? They don't believe in God anymore, like it's bogus. And then she comes face to face with the thing that kind of is the basis of Mandalorian, ideals. So to see that, you notice right after she sees him, the helmet doesn't come off anymore. Yeah. Not until later anyway. Yeah. So she's already kind of like, well, wait a minute. If this thing is real, then how much of this, I'm going to leave this on just for good measure. But the one thing that I really liked about that episode was that creature that captured Din Djarin. It was so cool because it was kind of like you could tell it was some sort of cyborg thing where it was like some organic, some robotic, and it looked like something out of a comic book. And you see Bo-Katan fighting this thing, and she kills it, at least you think so. But then it's just like a little glass eye thing, little glass with an eye behind it that opens up, and then it comes out, and it's just like a smaller piece of the bigger thing, and it crawls into this bigger like monster. And I thought that was really cool. Like it was
creepy. It was creepy. I know. I mean, it was creepy. Sorry. Yeah, just had to tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. And I gotta say, because there is a lot of bad stuff with this series. With this season, but some of the good stuff were the special effects and the special effects makeup, like the different, and you see it throughout the season. The different aliens, like whoever is in charge of their, special effects makeup department, they're freaking killing it, because usually we see aliens in Star Wars universe and they sometimes kind of look silly, you know what I mean? Kind of like cartoonish. And when you watch this series, pay attention to the different aliens, because they're pretty badass. And I really enjoyed how they went about making it using either just makeup or special effects, whatever. But that one scene with that monster, I enjoyed. I was like, oh, that's cool. And that was really what kind of had me like, okay, I'm hooked. It was easy for me from that point on,
No, you're right, man. I mean, just the I don't really want to call it CGI, because there was probably some CGI, but even when they go back to Grief Carva Navarro and the pirates were there, and you see this one pirate, looks like he's just made out of seaweed, and like you can actually like feel the seaweed dripping from his whole body. So I'm just like, they, probably like 90% makeup and then maybe like 10% CGI just to make it look authentic. But yeah, man, the guys who's into the whole makeup scenes, I mean, even from the androids acting like androids, I mean, man, shout out to them. They're definitely doing, you know, a cool type of whatever they're doing out there. It's definitely cool. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That android you were talking about, that kind of reminds me of, was it Attack of the Clones when Obi-Wan fights General Grievous? Remember General Grievous with like the 4 arms? Because he was kind of organic and half machine also. And this android just kidnapped Obi-Wan because it was just trying to steal his blood. And I guess, you know, we see the scene when he was walking through those caves and he sees a bunch of Mandalorian helmets just laying around. And I guess that's what this android was doing, was just like stealing them. But what's funny was I saw this person on YouTube. It's like, okay, if the Mandalorians lived there for so many years, where was this guy? Where was, you know, where was this guy hanging out? So it's kind of like, okay, you're there.
Well, I want to say at some point they mentioned like seismic activity. So I guess we're supposed to believe that, you know, when the ground started shifting, that, you know, maybe things came out of nowhere. That was why the mythosaur was, you know, kind of came out of where it was. But yeah, no, totally. Like, I don't know that I could live on a planet with those little wormy eye things running around. But it's crazy to think, and not to get too off topic, but we always rely on sci-fi to kind of give us ideas for what the future is going to be like, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of see we're already heading to that direction of, you know, us merging with technology. I mean, Elon Musk, you know, and his guys making the chip to put in our brain, where our phones are already an extension of us, right? We can't, it's like another little brain in our hand. So I kind of like that idea of where would we be in, you know, 1,000, 2,000 years from now. You know, we're just going to be half robots. Like as soon as you're born, they just put you into this thing, and then you just, it's like an incubator, and then you grow inside that. Kind of cool. I don't know.
I mean, going back to what you said, I mean, what do we know what's within the you know, the center of the earth? I mean, there could be those little things crawling around in there right now, and they just don't have a way out, you know, and or maybe they're like, hey, there's too many humans up there that I'm not going to go reveal myself, and then, you know, they want to study me. Hell, you know, when one day when the world comes to an end, and you know, all these creatures that we've never seen will probably, like what happened here, they'll just pop out out of nowhere.
All those aliens living in the bottom of the ocean that we don't know about.
And I think they said that in episode 7 when they get back to Mandalore and they see that little pirate ship with the 3 Mandalorians that's on there. The one guy says, what was, you know, the bottom feeders are now the main ones up here, and we're the ones that's having to survive and hide from them. So it goes back to like that episode 2 when Mandalorian has to fight those weird cave creatures, which kind of reminds me of, if you ever watched the old episode of Star Trek with William Shatner, there was an episode like that where they had this kind of weird cave guys, and that's exactly what they reminded me of when I saw them. And I mean, the writing is cool, everything is cool. I just wish they went a different direction with all this, because the whole episode, the whole season, you can kind of see Din Djarin kind of like, dude, I'm out. I'm done doing this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. That was the one thing. It kind of felt like what was the purpose of everything? You know what I mean? Like, at least for, like, I understand Bo-Katan, and I almost feel like this season was maybe set up for maybe a future show, like you were saying, for her, because we got more of her backstory. A lot of the narrative is pushed because of her, and because honestly, Mando and Grogu can kind of go off and do their own thing. You know what I mean? Like, there was no purpose for it. So it does kind of leave you sort of like, all right, well, where's this going? What's the purpose of all this? And again, if I was watching this week by week, I think I probably would be a little more lost and not as interested, because it's kind of like they could have jammed a lot of this stuff into one episode. Like what was it, eight episodes, about 30-40 minutes each. Realistically, there was probably more like 5 episodes worth of stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, exactly.
They could have easily given us another 5, stretched it out and fleshed out the story a little bit. But again, like I said, that's always been my issue with Star Wars. It feels like they put a lot of effort into the special effects and costumes and all that. And the story and the script is just an afterthought. Like, well, just something for us to slap together so we can show off all our cool stuff.
All our cool features. But you know what's funny about that? Even if they did decide to go a different direction, you know, let's say Bo-Katan gets her own, you know, Katie Sackhoff gets her own series and call it whatever, right? Call it, you know, another Mandalorian name. Mm-hmm. It makes you wonder if they really need Pedro Pascal underneath the mask. Because I'm going to tell you 3 names: Brendan Wayne, Barry Lowen, and Lateef Crowder. Those are the 3 guys who actually wears the Mandalorian suit, other than Pedro Pascal. Lateef Crowder is the stunt Mandalorian, and the other 2, Brendan Wayne and Barry Lowen, they're just the, you know, if Pedro Pascal's like, hey, dude, I don't want to shoot, you know, I'm tired, they just pretty much use his voice instead of having him, you know, be in the suit 8 hours a day. So if they decide, okay, if he's like, hey, dude, I don't want to do this anymore, they can still continue it because we don't really see his face. And now that he's whole again, you know, he's probably never going to take his mask off again.
Yeah.
So
I'll do you one better. Lately, if anybody's been paying attention to the news, AI has been going crazy making songs that sound really damn good and sound like the person. I mean, what's to stop them from saying, hey, can we just use your voice? You don't even have to show up to the studio. You don't even have to sit on the mic. We'll do everything. Just, you know, give us permission to use your voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it sounds crazy, but it's not. And I could see voice acting and just acting in general going that direction. I mean, think about it. We could have James Earl Jones now for eternity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and now, you know, now that we talk about it, it really does feel like this season is set up for them maybe to not get rid of, but for Pedro to kind of move on, because I believe it's already been stated that he's thinking about moving on, doing other stuff. So yeah, maybe this was all a way to kind of gear the story away from him and maybe to her.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know. I can't see anyone else being Boba Fett. And I think the heart of the series is him and Grogu's interaction and relationship and how they're growing together. So I don't know. If they're gonna do that, then I hope they just stop with the Mandalorian. You know, give us an ending that we can be satisfied with, and then move on. Even if Grogu moves on to be on the other series or whatever, but don't kind of string it along, because they do that sometimes too. They leave a lot of things open ended, and you're like, wait, whatever happened with that? And they're like, oh, you got to read the comic.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah. I downloaded this app. I'm gonna let you listen to it. It's kind of funny because you're talking about AI. Tell me if you know who this voice is. And this person is reading.
Quick Startup Guide helps you take full advantage of everything Speechify has to offer. One, set up your listening experience. The Speechify lets you adjust your speed, voice, and language to find your perfect listening experience. Choose from over 30 of our high-quality, human-like voices in our premium voice.
It's supposed to be Barack Obama.
Barack? Yeah,
it's supposed to be Barack. So I downloaded this.
DOG, I'm gonna read to you with flavor.
See?
That's pretty good.
And this is this is an app called Speechify, and I, you know, my dumb ass is scrolling on TikTok one day, and someone said, oh, this is an app you need to download if you like to listen to books. And then if you pay for the premium app, you can get more voices, but these are it's Barack Obama, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Snoop Dogg. And I was reading, you know, I wasn't reading, I was messing with it last night, and I was just like, oh my God, the Snoop Dogg one is just definitely Snoop Dogg. The Barack Obama, the Gwyneth Paltrow, that can just be anybody trying to impersonate them.
Right.
But you cannot impersonate Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
You know.
And what's crazy is, though, this is all fairly new. I mean, we heard about, AI's chat GPT thing maybe last year, but within the last few months, it's been available for people to download. And we're already getting, Drake singing Rihanna songs and all this. Like, where are we going to be next year?
Oh,
next
God.
year, they're going to nail Obama. You're going to be calling me up and I'm going to think it's the ex-president, Like,
you mean this is not, hey, Joe, it's Grogu. Joe, I am Grogu.
No, man,
it doesn't sound like that.
What? This doesn't sound like Grogu? What's up, Joe? It's Grogu, man.
But we should save that. Let's save that AI topic for another day. I mean, that sounds really cool, and that's something I think we should really dive into. With you being a music creator and me trying to get into the whole writing thing, let's talk about us using it just to give us ideas, not to really use it on top of the creativeness we have. So let's talk about that another time. I like that topic. I mean, it's just kind of it's one of those things that does scare me in the future because with CGI and now we have AI or the AI, hell, we don't 10 years from now we'll be watching John Wick 30 and it's not even going to be Keanu Reeves anymore, but it's going to look and sound like him. I mean, it's going to not really hard to be Keanu Reeves.
Really Yeah, I think everybody has a Keanu.
What do you mean you want me to go?
I am an FBI agent.
You don't understand how much I love you.
Got my first tube today, sir. God, yeah.
We were talking about The Mandalorian. We always do this. I like this is what I love about doing the podcast with someone else is like we get off topic and we go off topic and it's always a fun topic. And Keanu Reeves, like you just said, we can do Keanu Reeves all day long.
Serious.
I think the only way is to speed it up.
Man, that guy's lucky. He is really a nice guy. I just leave that. I've said it last time, but
I watched. We're all over again. Excuse me. I watched John Wick 3 last night. And it was on TV, Parabellum, and it was a scene where they were fighting in that little warehouse, and they had all these like weapons behind them, right? And the one Asian guy looks and sees there's a bunch of knives here, and John Wick, Keanu Reeves, looks behind and sees there's something else or swords, and he's like, "Huh?" Like he has this look like, "Should I get it?" For you guys listening on the radio, I'm doing dumb or listening on our podcast, I'm doing dumb Keanu Reeves faces. But yeah, no, so yeah, okay. Back to the Mandalorian. Yeah, so I would love to see the Mandalorian continue with Pedro Pascal and Grogu in the future, like him actually speaking and not just doing these little baby talks. And that's what kind of disappointed me in the final episode when they kill Moff Gideon. They're baptizing Paz Vizsla's son, and he's supposed to carry on the Vizsla name. And here comes Din Djarin holding Grogu in his hands, like, I'd like to baptize Grogu as well. And she's like, well, since Grogu doesn't speak, we can't baptize him.
Right.
At that moment, I was hoping he did one of those like,
what do you mean I can speak? You guys just never asked me to speak.
Yeah, no, same here. I thought he was going to talk. I was like, oh, we're going to find out. Maybe he learned from Luke when they were training. He's just been quiet this whole time. But yeah, no, they didn't do that.
What's up? What's up, Mando? What's up, man?
Like, Grogu, you got a deep voice there.
Yeah, I've been hanging out with Grief Karga.
Oh man.
No, I mean it's. I mean, someone pointed out on Twitter where we had 3 episodes of Guardians of the Galaxy, and in a half episode, we watched Groot go from a little Groot to a teenage Groot to fighting in Endgame, and here we have Grogu with 3 seasons, and he's still, a little 100-year-old baby.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, like, because if they do another series, say with Bo-Katan, I mean, it's not like he can jump that much in age.
Yeah.
You know, so is he going to learn soon, or are we going to see sort of maybe a better version of what they did with IG-11 or IG-12, right? What I'm talking about is IG-11, that robot, that android that was badass, killing everything in I think season 1 and 2. They were able to kind of revamp him. They found some parts and they kind of made him into this sort of cyborg machine where Grogu could sit inside and control it. And they give him these 2 sound buttons where he can say yes and no, which was kind of cool. So he can actually, that scene was funny when he Mando's trying to get him to get out of the thing because he's not really happy with the idea, and he's like no, and he starts walking around and knocking shit over. But I kind of feel like maybe that was just them showing us a possibility, so that maybe the next time we see Grogu, he's maybe in a more advanced one, and maybe he's got like a Stephen Hawking thing going on where he's just talking with a robot voice. I don't know if that's something that they're going to do, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. But me personally, the stuff in this series that I like the most was every time they showed all the Mandalorian in act. That was the coolest stuff. With the part where you're just talking about, where this raptor comes and kidnaps Paz Vizsla's son. This is after the fight with him and Grogu, the test with these two, which Grogu wins because he's always got his
he cheated. He used the Force,
his Jedi stuff on deck and uses it when he needs it. But this raptor comes and takes Paz Vizsla's son. And they we can't shoot it down because we're gonna hurt the kid. So all the Mandalorian, or a couple of Mandalorian, go out. It's Paz, Bo-Katan, and Mando, and they go to save him. But all these scenes with the Mandalorian, by the way, Paz Vizsla is one of my favorite characters in the show. But all these scenes with all of them are pretty badass.
Yeah.
You see the way they're flying, the way they're fighting, and I'm like, I could just watch a whole series of this. Like if they did a prequel, if they go back and show us how Mandalore was, it doesn't even have to have Din Djarin in it. Just showing how Mandalore was and stories within Mandalore with all the different ones, maybe explaining the different suits and stuff that they have and the different groups and what they mean. That to me would be freaking amazing. And I feel like the possibilities of that would be endless. But yeah, that was the coolest stuff for me, was watching them fly around, watching them fight, all the cool shit they were doing. I thought that was badass. I mean, I'm hoping if they did do a Bo-Katan series or something with Bo-Katan, that's all we see. Because when we watch the previews of Clone Wars and Rebels, and this is the reason why I want to watch Rebels again, is because they actually tell us what happened with Mandalore and the different factions that ended up when Mandalore got destroyed. So I kind of want to see that. And supposedly this all ties in with Ahsoka. So I kind of want to get caught up before Ahsoka comes out. But yeah, any scene that they had the Mandalorians in, all of them, even when Bo-Katan united the clan towards the end, where it was like her clan and the Armor's clan put together, it's like you can tell the difference, because Bo-Katan's clan took their helmets off, and the Armor, they were true to the creed where they'll never take their helmets off. And when you saw all of them together, you're just like, damn, this is cool. And it's kind of cool because Axe, who was kind of like the asshole of the group, he was kind of like, I'm better than you, Bo-Katan. You're soft. You're not going to do anything. You won't even take the Darksaber away from him. Yeah. He kind of saw like, wait a minute, shit, there's a lot more of us here. And, the more, the merrier, because now we can actually take what's ours. And, and towards the end, he saw the light and he was like, you're right. We're going to do this and we're going to do this together. And I just love seeing all of them. And I do this thing whenever I watch The Mandalorian, like in that one episode where they were inside the cave. It was episode 4 when they first show all the Mandalorians in episode 1, right? That's the first time we see all of them. I start picking which one I think is going to die according to
their status. You know, it's like,
yeah.
all right, his suit's not the best suit. He still looks like he's beginning, so he's most likely going to die in a battle scene. It's just, you know, like the Star Trek thing, you know, the guys with the red shirts always die, right? Except for the captain. So this kind of like how Mandalorian is. But man, seeing all of them together at the very end episode when they're fighting Paz Vizsla, even when Bo-Katan and the armor is lighting the Great Forge, and you just see all of them there, just like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, it's like I've died and gone to Comic-Con heaven. I see all the Mandalorians.
Yeah, definitely. And it was heightened when for me anyway, when they all went back to Mandalore together to the ruins, and I forget his name. What's the Giancarlo Esposito's character?
Giancarlo Esposito. Oh, Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon, thank you. Which, by the way, I got to give props to Star Wars. They always have cool bad guys.
Yeah.
Out of all the different franchises, they have freaking awesome bad guys. And for those of you who are like myself, fans of Breaking Bad, you were happy to see Giancarlo Esposito because he's badass. And he goes ahead and he takes all this all the metals and things that they use for the Mandalorian suits and their technology, and he creates the new dark troopers, I believe they're called. And to see all these like Mandalorian looking / star
killers, yeah.
You know what I mean? The stormship troopers mixed with Mandalorians. I was like, oh, this is badass.
Yeah.
And what's also cool about it was that shows that it's not only the suit isn't enough, right? Because even though these guys had these new fancy suits, they still weren't trained like Mandalorians.
Yeah.
So for the most part, they're getting their ass beat. But Moff Gideon in his suit, man, I really was like, this is cool. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And those little things, like there's moments of greatness in this series that just kind of reinforces, damn it, why didn't you just do this or do that? You know what I mean? It almost feels rushed. Like it breezed through a lot of things, and they could have really unpacked a lot of these, like even just giving the episodes 10-20 more minutes would have been enough to really dig into a lot of the cool stuff they had, because it was a tease, honestly. Most of the episodes were a tease to me.
I mean, this is where Disney Plus, this is where they lack. And when I say lack, like I watched the first couple episodes of Beef on Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. And you know it's going to be 54 minutes of runtime. You know that every episode is going to be about 54 minutes or whatever Netflix is showing. Even Stranger Things, you know it's going to be a certain amount of episodes. So you know to expect and sit there for that hour of Netflix, whatever you're watching. Or Disney, and it's not just The Mandalorian, it's the Marvel series also. You don't know if you're going to get 30 minutes. You don't know if you're going to get an hour. And for them to introduce Moff Gideon towards the end of 8 episodes, I mean, God, we didn't see Moff Gideon until episode 7. Yeah. And it's like, there's like, you know, story going around, like when that spaceship, or I forget the guy's name, that little Asian soldier, he was like
the Jedi.
The guy who flies a TIE fighter, the one where Din Djarin goes. He was in he's on that
he's part of like the new
Republic.
New Republic.
Yeah. When he goes and investigates that ship that supposedly had Moff Gideon on there, is when they say, oh, Moff Gideon is alive. It's like, I think if you would have started with that first, maybe episode 1, you show us that scene, and then now we're thinking, oh shit, Moff Gideon's still alive.
Yeah.
Where you kind of wait towards the end to let us know. So now it's like, okay, now we're hyping ourselves because now we know he's the big bad. So we're kind of going to wait for him to fight. But it's like, I kind of wish there was more than just one fight episode, you know?
Yeah. And that's why there was so many holes in the story, because like you said, if they would have kind of introduced that earlier on in the season, giving us a better clue that he's alive and he's behind all this, then that makes episode 2 more understandable.
Yeah.
Because now it's gonna tie into him. They're giving us this backstory, and now we understand why I forget her number, G68 or whatever the hell her number is, why she double crosses Dr. Sherlin.
Yeah.
Right. Because so now we know, all right, well, they're not all converted. There's still some bad ones undercover in this new republic. And then it kind of would have made me more engaged. But I just, like we said, it's kind of just, it goes off left somewhere, and now you're just watching and wondering, wait, what is this? And you forget that you're watching The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's cool. I like it. I like the backstories. I mean, even the one with chapter 21, episode 5, when they go off to or is it chapter 6? I'm sorry, chapter 6, when they go off to that little planet because Bo-Katan needs to talk to Axe and them, and then we get Lizzo and Jack Black in there.
Could have done without them, but
I could have done without. I mean, Jack Black to me he made that character. I just couldn't take Lizzo serious just because, her. I mean, a lot of people was like, "Oh man, she made it to the the Disneyverse." What I love was Christopher Lloyd. It's like Doc Brown's character. I mean, like the first thing I thought of was Doc Brown, and I was really, really hoping, and I had to watch that episode 3 times to see if I missed anything, but I was really hoping he gave a Back to the Future reference, which something like, we put 1.81 gigawatts in these robots and this is how they're acting. I was hoping they did, but I guess the writers didn't even want to take that chance or reach out to.
And maybe he wants to do some things that are different from always being recognized as Doc. But that was pretty cool. I felt like Lizzo was distracting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because she doesn't have like the biggest role, and it's not like she says all that much, but I never saw the character she was playing. I just saw Lizzo in a costume.
Yeah.
So it almost kind of felt like when they threw Meg Thee Stallion and She-Hulk, it's kind of like you're just throwing a name in there to throw a name, and that's cool, but let it make sense. Let it,
let's just not put her on there to twerk and show us how to twerk,
Yeah. So, but thankfully that wasn't too long of a scene or parts in them, because if they would have been more of the series, I would have been really annoyed.
And it's just, it was one of those, like you said in the beginning, where it kind of threw us another direction, because now, in order for them to get access to see Axe and the crew, they have to help them solve their problem first, which was these androids, these robots that are going crazy. So it's like, here's Din Djarin's like, oh, dude, come on. We just want to talk to these guys, and you want us to do work for you. It's kind of like, okay, you have to get to the point. It's like there's a bigger threat going out there. But it was a cool side thing, because we got to see the Mandalorian, we got to see, Bo-Katan, and we got to see the relationship between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin grow, which was kind of cool. What I hate about the whole Grogu thing is Grogu's supposed to be this badass Jedi. He's supposed to be this Jedi that just takes care of himself. I hate that IG-11 suit or whatever 12 suit that he was in. That was terrible. Only because he's supposed to be a Jedi and he's supposed to learn how to fight like a Jedi. Right. And when Lizzo was just treating him like a little child, which he is a little child technically, I was like, come on, man, are you serious? Grogu shouldn't be carried around and, like, oh, little baby, oh, this and that. He should be fending for himself and doing his own thing. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I wish the writers kind of saw this as, wait, Grogu's a Jedi. We got to treat him like a Jedi. That's why Luke, remember in that episode of Boba Fett, when they showed Luke training Grogu, he was like, come on, man, you have to walk. I'm not going to carry you.
Yeah.
And Luke was helping him with the Force because, Grogu was walking slow. But in this series, this season, it's like they build him a suit, so him with that suit, you can't do anything.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was so clunky and kind of old and weird. But I wonder if this is back to like what you were saying about Disney. I wonder if the writers or the creators are kind of handcuffed or got their hands tied a little bit with Disney. You know what I mean? Because I can easily see Disney saying, "Hey, we can't have Grogu grow up. you know, we got to keep him a little baby because we would not be going to be able to sell the dolls like we do for $50 a pop or whatever crazy number it is, you know?
Yeah.
And they love to draw things out and stretch things out. So maybe that's what it is. You know, maybe they're just like, we can't, he's got to stay a baby, which is why I hope at least if they're going to do that whole him and a robot thing, at least make the robot cool. You know, so at least he's badass when he's doing it. But like you're right, he's a Jedi. He doesn't need it. He should be able to fight like Yoda did when Yoda, you know, when he was in the shits, Yoda was badass. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how long it's going to take for us to see him reach his full potential.
I mean, that episode 8 alone, there was a lot of me wishing this happened. Like, when he finally came out of the suit, that was the biggest thing for me. It was like when these royal guards attacks him and he, you know, they destroy the suit. Now he's jumping all over them, using the force on them. I was really hoping he would find a way to get the Darksaber and use it and know how to use it. And then now everyone's like, this is the guy that's supposed to have it. Because the original owner of the Darksaber, the one who created it, was a Vizsla, and he was a Jedi.
Yeah.
So for Grogu to be the Jedi and he'd be the wielder of the Darksaber could give us a more understanding of where the future of the Mandalorian is going. Because now we know, like, okay, Grogu the Jedi is going to be the leader of the Mandalorians somewhere down the line. But it was just, I think you're right. And I think the writers just don't want him to grow. I mean, even just the little thing like giving him a voice, you know, letting him speak, even if it's annoying, you know, like,
or kid's voice.
You
I
know,
mean, I think they could do that.
It was one of those things where it's like, I kind of wish this happened. I kind of wish they got them, you know, I kind of wish Bo-Katan at that end scene jumped back in the water and decided, I'm going to get this mythosaur, and I'm going to write it so everybody knows that I'm going to be the true leader of Mandalore. I mean, is Moff Gideon really dead?
Yeah, I don't think so, man. Like, and you know, you brought up the dark sword. That was another thing that was confusing to me because they made such a big deal about this sword and the power and the person that wields it, and you know, Bo-Katan lost it to Moff Gideon, and then they get it back and all this stuff. And she meets up, she fights against Moff Gideon, and he crushes it in like 2 seconds. And it's like, all right, now it's a piece of scrap metal. And I was like, well, what the hell? What was all that for? Why'd you even have the storyline with the damn dark sword if all he was going to do was crush it in 2 seconds? But that's, again, part of some of the plot holes that do get annoying with this. But like I said, I don't expect much anymore from Star Wars. So all the bells and whistles were enough to keep me, you know, happy watching
keep you going,
series.
I mean, this season was cool. I like this season. And what I liked about this season was we got to see a lot more Mandalorians. You know, we got to see the sacred Mandalorians who never took their helmets off, and we got to see the new Mandalorians who, you know, didn't believe in the old creed. So we got to see that. We got to see them, you know, unite, which I really enjoyed because, you know, if you go back to Clone Wars and even Rebels, you know, they all never got along with each other. They all hated each other. There was always a fight. And, you know, people points out that the only people that can kill Mandalorians are other Mandalorians because they're always, you know, battling each other over something. And to actually see them get along, I still don't trust the armor. I still think something's weird with her. You know, it's like, you know, you got off a little easy. I think they're trying to save her for if they did do a expanded universe with Bo-Katan. They're probably going to save her for that. But, you know, I don't trust her.
Yeah, that scene where she gets Bo-Katan to be the one to go and bring the two sides of the Mandalorians together, and she asked her to take her helmet off. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? I thought that was the setup. I felt the same thing you felt, like, I don't trust her, there's something going on. But she was pretty badass when they actually finally showed her fight. In that one scene. And I was like, oh, see, that's cool. And that's again, every time they showed the Mandalorians, the different weapons, the different styles, I was like, this is sick. Like I said, my favorite was Paz Vizsla. You know, he's got this big ass machine gun, and his outfit looks a little different, probably because he had to go to the, you know, big and tall shop in Mandalore. But he was awesome. And, you know, spoiler alert, unfortunately they killed him off, which I was like, but At least he had a badass way of going. He saved everybody else, did the typical, you guys go ahead. It's too many, I'll fight them off. And I'm glad that he was not beat by some cheap dark troopers. They had to bring out the fancy badass
the Royal Guards,
red S&M Royal Guard guys. But it was a death that he deserved, I guess. That they had to bring the best out to kill him.
It took 3 of them to kill one of him. It took 3 of them, and that just shows you how a badass Mandalorian he is, because those guys, they didn't, if they didn't have any of their weapons, they're cheating, laser weapons on them, I think Paz Vizsla kills them easily. And it took 3 of them to kill him, and again, they cheated. Going back to Moff Gideon's suit crushing the Darksaber, that's a suit that cheats also. It's like you're not that strong underneath all that that armor. You're kind of it reminded me of Iron Man all of a sudden. Like, okay, now I have this suit made out of Beskar. I'm gonna do everything I can to beat you, and I'm gonna be stronger than you. It's like every time he would do something, I'm just like, I would hear the old school $6 Million Man episode. Whenever $6 Million Man crushed something, you would just hear that bionic thing in the background. Exactly. See, Joe knows what I'm talking about. But that's exactly what I kept thinking about when he's like, he takes a Darksaber and he kind of does this whole,
if no one can have it, then no. If I can't have it, no one can have it.
And he crushes the Darksaber, and I'm just like, okay, so why did you build up this Darksaber, just like you said, for just no one to have it,
Yeah. I'm glad you did that with the voice, because I there was a couple things I wanted to note on. One, I want a Mandalorian helmet because it makes everybody's voice sound freaking cool.
Yeah.
Like everyone in there just sounds like a badass. But if you listen to Moff Gideon speak, I'm telling you, and I haven't looked this up, so I don't know if it's true, but I feel like the audio engineers tweaked his voice, maybe even layered it with Samuel Jackson's, with
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
James
I
Earl
said
Jones.
his name earlier. James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Because he slightly sounds like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
The part where we first hear him speaking with the mask on, I was doing something and I heard him speak and I looked and I was like, is that Darth? I thought Darth Vader came out of nowhere, and I was like, "Oh no, that's Moff Gideon." I was like, I see what you did there.
Yeah,
I see what you did there. You want that kind of relation of like the big badass.
You want us to distinguish the difference between the two. It's kind of like Bo-Katan, helmet goes on.
I will make sure I do.
They did the same thing with Kylo Ren in that episode where Kylo Ren, without his mask, he's just regular. Then all of a sudden, with his mask, he had this weird sounding voice. I am. Oh, bad feedback. But yeah, no, I totally, dude, I mean, I wish they make something like that where if I put a helmet on and you put a helmet on and we did a podcast with a helmet on, we sound different but the same because we have that voice, whatever it is. But even all of them sounded different like that. When Bo-Katan takes her helmet off, it's like all of a sudden she's just like a regular person with the helmet on. She has that, okay, guys, we got to make sure. I mean, it's crazy.
It's more captivating when they speak. You just hang on every word.
Yeah. Did you catch that character that was also in Top Gun, the black guy that he was in Top Gun Maverick? He was the second lieutenant in charge, but he was one of the Mandalorians that was stuck on the planet. He made a cameo on there as well.
Oh, cool! No, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see him make the Star Wars universe. I mean, a lot of people made the Star Wars universe in this, and I mean, like I said earlier, Jack Black made a Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and I got a little nervous because I was like, "Oh, is this going to be one of those where they just jam in as many famous people as they can?"
Oh,
and then
God,
it's just, But you had posed a question: is Moff Gideon dead? Me personally, I don't think he is. One, because I felt like it was just too easy. To kill him, like we said, with everything feeling like it was rushed. It was no different for the ending. It was a quick battle. Everything blows up, and Grogu uses the Force to protect him and Din and Bo-Katan from the blast, and it's like, well, I don't know. that was a little too easy. So I don't know. I think it's one of two things. I think either that the kind of evil Mandalorian suit that he made was able to withstand the blast, or that was one of his clones that he had in the spaceship earlier that they killed off, But either way, I'm like, I don't buy it. I'm like, no, that was just too easy. I was even expecting him to come back in that episode. I was like, oh, they're going to be like walking out and he's just going to come out of nowhere and continue the battle. And they
surprise,
didn't.
bitches, I'm back.
Yeah, exactly. But they didn't. So I definitely think he's still alive, and he's too good of a bad guy, I think, for them to kill off that quickly.
Well, going back to, and we didn't tell anybody. So Moff Gideon decides to clone himself. And we'll go back to season 1 where the reason why Mandalorian has Grogu or is looking for Grogu is because they want some of his blood to clone his Jedi blood. And then we found out why in season 3 is because Moff Gideon wants to take that blood and put it into his clones. Everybody thought it was for Palpatine or it was for, Snoke. But the big story was Moff Gideon wanted to make dark troopers, and he wanted himself inside those dark troopers with the Jedi power. And I guess after he saw Luke destroy his dark saber or his dark troopers in the book or in the Mandalorian season 2 episode, the season 2 or season 1, I forget. He was like, wait a minute, I need to make a suit that can withstand lightsabers. And the only thing that can withstand lightsabers is Beskar. So he decides to do that, clones a shitload of himself. And Din Djarin just goes there and presses the empty the water button, and all of a sudden the toilet flushes. All the clones are dead, but we don't really see if the Moff Gideon we saw is the real Moff Gideon, or was he a clone of Moff Gideon? Which is kind of cool because it's going to leave us hanging again if there is a season 3. But there's going to be a bigger, badder bad guy in Ahsoka in God, I forget what his name is. Count Bane. I don't remember what his name is, but he was in Rebels. He's a blue character, face character, and he's supposed to be way worse than Moff Gideon. Like he's one of those guys where Moff Gideon is still talking to Din Djarin. This guy will just kill Din Djarin and then start talking to him after that.
He's not gonna waste time.
Yeah. Cool. So I can't wait for that, and I can't wait to see somebody that's actually higher up than Moff Gideon. That'll be like, dude, what are you doing fucking around with the Mandalorians when there's bigger things that we need to get? You know? So I do wish they bring him back, and I kind of wish there was somebody more superior than Moff Gideon. It's like you're sitting here wasting our resources over cloning your damn self. How narcissistic can you get? Yeah,
exactly. No, you're absolutely right. And we don't, just before he flushes all these guys out and kills them, one of the clones opens his eyes and scares Grogu. So you're right. We don't know if, in fact, they are dead. Maybe they were far along enough in the cloning process that him draining the water didn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe they were ready to go already. Who knows? Or maybe one survived. I don't know.
Someone said that one that opened his eyes was actually the real Moff Gideon. Like he put himself in that bacta tank just to, as a decoy, where the clone was the one in the suit. I mean, we're pulling here, so we'd have to wait and see. But overall, I mean, it was a good series. It was a good episode. It explained a lot, but it also left a lot of plot holes. It left a lot of us like wishing what's going to happen. I kind of wish, like I said, Grogu was a little bit more mature. I kind of wish he's more with the Force. That's kind of why I was upset when he left Luke and decided to go with Din Djarin. But you're right. At the end, it's a business. No one's going to want to buy a bunch of Mandalorian dolls. They'd rather buy a bunch of Grogu dolls because it's cuter and it's Grogu. I liked it. I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I'm hoping Pedro Pascal works out whatever he needs to work out. And the rumor is, he doesn't want to do small TV anymore. He wants to do more bigger things like the movie theaters, which I don't blame him. He's a badass actor right now.
Yeah, he's on fire right now.
And then I read that the reason why he said yes to The Last of Us, because when he read the script and he knew his character was going to eventually die, he was like, cool. It's not something long term. He knows he's going to die. He wants to do it. And then with this Mandalorian, they don't know what they're going to do with him. I thought he was going to die in this final episode. I really thought he was going to die and that would have been it. But they end it with him sitting in front of his house, Grogu still being a kid messing with the frogs. Open-ended.
No.
It's left open-ended for us.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. And my takeaway is that the whole season was really more of a setup for other characters in the future, especially when I saw that ending of just him and Grogu chilling at a house, because that's pretty much where it started off.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was just them two going on these missions. They were together happily ever after, but now they went through all this stuff and now they're back just them two together. So it was like, what was the whole purpose of that? And I think it was just for us to see all these new characters and see where they're going to go from there. So
there's a line where Din Djarin is they're on the barge, they're in Mandalore. Bo-Katan is just told the whole Mandalorians why she gave up the Darksaber to Moff Gideon. Like she technically surrendered the Darksaber, and he walks up to her and says, your story isn't written, or your song isn't written yet. Mm-hmm. And once it is, I'll follow you wherever I go, Lady Kryze. So that's kind of like me. I heard that as, I'm done. This is your story now. Your movie's coming next. And what's funny with this is she's a Mandalorian. So if they did come out with a season 3 and they call it The Mandalorian, it still could be her. Like we're thinking,
season 4.
Season 4, sorry, yeah. If they come out with a season 4 and they still call it The Mandalorian, but it's her and the whole rest of the Mandalorians, I wouldn't be mad at that.
I wouldn't.
Maybe they do a spin-off and call it Din and Grogu's Adventures or something like that.
Yeah. Or give us cameos or something, or maybe bring Grogu back and he's by himself, and maybe give us a backstory of what happened to Mandalorian. Maybe Grogu's on his own now or something.
I mean, even at the end of episode 8, when the armorer tells Din Djarin, you two now have to go travel the universe and show him how to be a Mandalore since he's your apprentice. It's kind of like her also saying, get out.
Yeah.
We're done with you.
Yeah, he officially adopted him and made him his apprentice, and because that's his apprentice, they can't stay in Mandalore, which they just fought for, which sucks. Now they got to go off and do adventures and train. So that was kind of like, I think that ending was to kind of just show us a happily ever after with them too. And you may see him again in the future as a cameo, but I don't think they're going to be the main characters.
I think this is going to be Kate Sackhoff's show, Bo-Katan's show, and we're going to finally see how Mandalore is going to be rebuilt from the bottom up, pretty much is what's going on. All right, a little technical difficulties there, but we were back. But I can't wait to see where this is going to go. Season 4, whenever it decides to come out. But I'm excited for this Ahsoka Tano series coming out in August, just because it has to deal with Jedis. And us when it comes to Jedis. I mean, Obi-Wan knocked it out of the park. So seeing Ahsoka here, I can't wait for it. Yeah,
same here. And I feel the same way. Jedis are the heart of the story, Star Wars franchise. So I would definitely love for them to go back to that and show us some more Mandalorians.
Yeah. Show us Mandalorians with the Jedis, which is kind of cool. They just signed. I guess I think they're going to continue the Mandalorians on the big screen. From what I heard, Dave Filoni, who's going to be in charge of that project, is going to kind of show us the evolution. I don't know if he's going to go off this season, like start from here, then show us the big screen, or if he's going to do something totally different with a different group of Mandalorians. But he's supposed to take this and make a movie out of it. We'll see what happens moving forward, if that actually works out, or if it's something that we're not going to watch. We'll see. But it's Star Wars, it's Disney. We're knowing me, I'm the biggest sucker. I'm going to end up watching it.
Yeah, we're going to watch it. I mean, what are we going to do? We watch the shows, we go to the parks, we buy the $20 soda. It's just
you gotta have everything.
They
Star
got us.
Wars. Yeah, I mean, there's this thing my coworker bought me, and it's a hologram light.
Cool.
And
cool.
Is
that the Death Star?
It's the Death Star, but I can change it up. Let me turn off my lights, so I can change it up to have different things on here. Like you can see Joe's reflection.
Oh yeah, look at that.
But yeah, there's an R2D2. Cool. There's an R2D2. There's a Death Star, and then there's a Millennium Falcon that I use. But the Death Star, whenever I have it in red, it looks really sick in red. So
nice.
Am I a Star Wars fan? You should see what's in front of me right here with the big Star Wars logo. I have Paz Vizsla, I have Din Djarin, I have a bunch of Mandalorian stuff around me. So
awesome.
I'm a Star Wars Disney sucker. Let's just put it that way.
We all are.
Yeah,
we all are. Well, definitely Disney. Man, Disney's had its claws in me since before I realized they had their claws in me.
Yeah. Did you see the fire that happened at Disneyland?
No, I didn't.
So there's a show that happens over on the Pirates of the Caribbean side, and it's the Phantasmic show. And when Maleficent turns into the big dragon, the dragon is breathing fire, actual fire. I guess there was a mishap where they used too much, I don't know, oil or gas or whatever, that the oil leaked up into the head of the dragon, causing the head of the dragon to go up in flames and causing the whole dragon to go up in flames.
Wow. So that was a cool show.
Yeah. And it's funny because if you go on TikTok, I'll try to find it and send it to you. But you would start hearing the recording of the Disney, like due to unforeseen circumstances, the Disney, I forget the name of the show, Phantasmic, will be postponed for the next, like you're watching, everyone's like, no shit, look at the fire. It's like, you got the video like, and then
we get it.
This one kid in the video is like, wow, Dad, this is the best show I've ever seen. And the dad actually says, I don't think this is part of this show, honey.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, if you go on TikTok and you just put Disney fire, man, you'll see that there should be at least 1,000 different videos because everybody took their phone out.
Yeah.
And it's just hearing the people's voices is entertaining enough. So
yeah, I'll check it out. That sounds fun.
But yeah, this is fun. Mandalorian's cool. I definitely like it. I can't wait to see what goes on in the future. Maybe they do a 10-year jump line when we see Din Djarin again, and maybe Grogu is actually talking now. He's doing the.
Oh, hey, what's up, Din? What up, man? You want some force?
Please don't do that.
They got to give him a good voice, man. They got to find a good voice for him. Give us one of those Rugrat voices, those Rugrat
that's
characters.
All you gotta do.
What if they bust out with the guy who plays Bart Simpson?
Oh God. You mean the lady that plays Bart Simpson?
The lady that plays Bart Simpson.
Or just get Hank Azaria. I mean, he does everything. Every other character.
Yeah, he does everything. Even that guy, what's the guy from the Family Guy? What's his name?
Seth MacFarlane.
I think it's him. Yeah. Look, Dan. We're gonna use some Jedi mind tricks on this guy, Jen. What do you think, Jen?
We should just do the whole compilation of different voices on Grogu to see which one fits. We'll use the AI.
Better. Yeah, we'll use the AI. I still think this is the best one.
Look, Dan, you want me to use my Jedi stuff, man? You got to break me off something to smoke.
What's funny is that there's an episode of Family Guy or the Cleveland Show where they use that same exact voice.
Yeah.
It's like spot on. I'm pretty sure they use the same effect that you're using.
It's the effect that came with the machine. I changed the name. It's funny, and a lot of people's like, he goes, "Why do you call him Rufus?" I'm like,
I sound like a Rufus. I mean, I don't sound like a Carl. No, Rufus sounds a lot better.
So his name is Rufus Cole. So whenever I do my own projects or my own podcast, I'm like, so Rufus, what do you think about this whole story?
Man, Eric, man, I totally agree with you. I think it's cool, man. I think what's a chochilla?
And one coworker of mine was like, how did you get him on your show? I was like, that's me. Like, no, it's not. I was like, that's me. That's me just messing around with you guys.
You could have kept that going. Just have your secret co-host.
He's my secret co-host on my own podcast. Like,
nice.
Rufus, we're talking about the Mandalorian.
Man, you know I don't watch that stuff.
So the whole AI, man, I definitely want to dive into that. Let's go ahead and dive into that. Maybe whenever we decide to do a podcast. There's nothing on TV right now that I want to talk about. I don't know if you were into Beef or want to watch Beef, but it's a whole series with
Yeah, I actually was about to, but I'm so behind on all my other shows like the Ozark, Peaky Blinders, all those. So I'm playing catch up now with those, but I'm almost done.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I might slip that one in there because I've been hearing a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit and watch the Rebels again before August because I want to get caught up with that. And there's 4 seasons, but they're like 20-minute episodes, so I should be able to knock that out before August. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and talk about something else moving forward.
Yep.
This was a fun episode. I definitely like talking anything Star Wars, anything Mandalorian to me. Anything Star Wars with me is cool to talk about. And we've gone a long way from season 1 to season 3 and hoping for a better future. I don't know if they're going to come out with the Book of Boba Fett 2. That's supposedly in the works. Maybe if they throw in some Mandalorians in there, maybe it makes it a little bit better.
Disappointing.
That was very disappointing. Tamara Morrison, man, I feel bad for him because he reprises his role, but it's kind of like,
yeah, it fell flat.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, this has been fun. This has been a fun topic. Sorry for a lot of the glitches and us going off topic a bunch of times. It happens. That's what happens when you have 2 ordinary Joes with Joe Buffett on here. Joe Buffett. I'm gonna find that. That's gonna be my next,
Joe Mama.
That's gonna be the next one right there. Until next time, go ahead and follow us on our Instagram, The Ordinary Joes Podcast on IG. Again, email us, theordinaryjoespodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, any comments, leave us a comment on our Instagram page. This is the best way to get a hold of us, and we'll go from there. Anything, Joe?
No, man. It was fun. It was fun to finish the season up or series up, and I'm excited to see what they have coming up next. And next time we'll maybe switch it up and talk about some AI stuff.
AI, no, we definitely got to do AI. Yeah, that's to me is the next big thing. And with AI, Tesla, all these electric cars that's going on, they're all in one. They're all one universe.
Changing.
So let's go ahead and just dive into that next time. Absolutely. Until next time, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. We are the Ordinary Joes.
Peace.
See ya.
Joe Mama.
You're listening to the Ordinary Joes Podcast